that. Dear friends, there is a person here who is very smart, but he said, don't be afraid, I will not be too smart. He's speaking from Sweden. He loves people. He loves to teach in the university. He has 3 kids. His name is Andreas Ekstrom. And he is the great speaker and was considered and is considered one of the best speakers from Sweden, especially about digital education, digital equality. Dear Andreas, hello.
Hello, nice to be here.
Nice to be with you. My first question to you. You talk on your TEDx talks, which are very popular and which reached more than 1 million people, a lot about Google. And I want please to talk about my personal concerns as a user of Google and as a user of all these technology things. Google is collecting a huge amount of data about us, what we eat, what we drink, what we want, where we want to go. And after watching a lot of movies with Will Smith, because I like Will Smith, I'm the robot, I'm the legend, I try not to be afraid, but I'm afraid that the machines will take all this data and they will do something about that. What happened, for example, at the elections when they say Trump was using that, and you see what's happened. Anyway, what do you think we as users of Google, what we should be aware of? Should we think about something, or we should blindly use Google every day and say, okay, whatever happened, let it happen?
So I would give an old-fashioned advice, something that my grandmother could have told you. Never put all of your eggs in one basket. Always diversify your information. Always think, okay, so if you're using a Gmail, Google's email server, fine, it's probably the best one out there. But if you do, maybe you shouldn't also use Google Drive and Google Maps and Google Earth and a gazillion other services. Maybe you should diversify. Maybe you should always have a backup. If you have a Gmail account as your main email account, you better be sure that you have a backup one, something else, perhaps a Tutanota one that's encrypted, or perhaps Proton Mail from Switzerland. That is a nice version of and a very familiar interface. Just look to the alternatives and make sure that you spread yourselves thin. That's a reasonable thing to do. But I don't think that we at an individual level need to be very scared. Google in particular is not super interested in you as a person or me as a person. They are interested, however, in Swedish men who are fathers and who are in their 40s and have glasses and no hair, because that's a potential advertising demographic, right? You can target ads to that group. They don't care about me, but they care about the group that I belong to. So do
you think there are that many people in Sweden who are wearing glasses, who have 3 kids, who are teaching in the university and who have no hair? You think there are some other?
There's so many of us. Actually, I rarely teach at the university. I'm not an employee there, but I live just by it and I work for them sometimes, just to clarify that. But yes, I mean, the wonders of this technology, of course, is that you can find niche groups of people, even though they're spread out all around the world. I mean, you can't reach all the people in the town of Lund, where I live, 120,000 people. That can't be done. But people like me in every town all around the world can now be reached. That's new. So that's what they need that information for. And again, should you be super worried? No, but you should partake in making the world global and having alternatives and spreading yourself thin.
You were talking about one example in your interview about Michelle Obama, that they were trying to use some bad information about her, and Google was cleaning it. But when it was something about terrorist guy, guy was using Google to promote himself.
Yes.
Being a gangster, he was promoting himself as in the movies. So to what extent, you are a specialist in Google and I assume in IT and technology, to what extent?
I wrote a book about Google, so I do know a lot about the inner workings of Google. And that example that you're referring to was basically me trying to talk about the search results per se, where I say that those are never completely clean in the sense that there is an unbiased truth for everything. Now, if you look for what is the capital of France, right? That's Paris. That's a fact. There's no arguing there. But Why are there political tensions between Israel and Palestine for decades and decades? You can't answer that with one line. It's a complex knowledge issue, the way you need to balance things and understand a lot of things. That's hard to Google 082. But you have to understand that very few queries and questions are as simple as just, what's the capital of France? So sometimes you're going to have some sort of editorial judgment in the search results. Sometimes you're going to have to say, no, that's actually a campaign against somebody. That's not cool. We're going to have to clean that up. Oh, well, the moment you do, Google, you are an editor. You're not just a technology provider, but an editor. And I try to point out that if you're an editor, you have some special responsibilities. And for the longest time, the tech companies, and they still don't, like to take the responsibility and thinking that, like Spotify, Swedish company, right, that streams podcasts and music, they like to think that we're just a distributor. We just send out the music and the podcasts to you. We don't care what you're singing or what you're saying. We're just providing that infrastructure, like the post office. We carry letters to everybody. We don't care what you write in them. We send the letters out. That's all we do.
Andreas, so when we look for something in the Google,
yes,
you are saying that we shouldn't be that primitive, that only to put what is the reason of Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
No, we have to be more. We have to understand that looking for knowledge is more complex than looking for a fact. A fact is easy, but looking for knowledge takes a lot more.
But you know that unfortunately the population now, because of watching primitive soap operas and not reading too many books, unfortunately becoming more primitive. That's why, of course, they Google everything. Everybody's Googling everything.
Sure, but
you don't think it's dangerous?
I'm not sure that I would want to agree. There are new challenges with the digital revolution when it comes to information, because good information can travel better, but bad information can travel better too. So you have people who are at the same time more informed and more disinformed at the same time. Like we are able to find more facts straight from the source than ever before. But we're also being bombarded by so much impressions. Oh, there's TikTok and there's YouTube and there are all these impressions. And how to navigate that, how to understand this is real, this is not, this is a good voice, this is a bad voice. That's difficult. It's all there, but it's super hard to decide which is which. So people are informed and disinformed at the same time now at a higher level. So it takes a lot to be human right now.
It goes without saying, it takes a lot to be human. And even I noticed that when you watch a lot of news, you're bombarded by information about Olympic, about wars. Your mood is getting down because there is too much information. And as a person who is working in mass media, I will say that bad information travels, as you said, faster.
Yeah.
That is how the media is made. So how to use this Google? Let's say you were saying that we should apply 3 sources or 4 sources, not one source. Like you say you use Google to find out what is Israeli-Palestinian conflict reason. Would you go to second source, third source?
Well, I think we all should. The thing is, though, that the search algorithm at Google it's very good. I mean, we love it. We use it all the time, all around the world, and for the most part, it helps us because our questions are often not that complicated. But 90% or more of all search queries end that we click on one of the 10 first search results. It's very unusual that we go to page 2, 3, 4, 5 to see what's deeper. That's a problem in our own behavior, really. I mean, we should have 30 seconds of patience and at least look a little further down to see what's out there too. And of course, try a couple of different search engines. You know, if you always use Google for search, well, there are a couple of others, you know. And if you don't know what they're named, you can Google the word search engine and you're pretty sure you're going to get a whole long list, and you can try maybe something else fits you better.
You are talking about digital equality a lot. What is this digital equality? How can be digital equality in Africa and in Sweden if some people even don't have that computers? How can be in one of the best universities in Cambridge and in Mongolia? At least what you're talking about, what is digital equality in the mind?
Well, so the idea when I talk about that expression is that right now we see a huge divide in the world. About 5 billion people, we're 8 billion on the planet, about 5 billion have access to the internet. 3 billion people have yet never been online. And that's hard. I mean, for you and for me, it's hard to imagine because we feel like internet is everywhere. We got the devices all around the place. Everything's connected, but not everywhere. There's 3 billion people who have not been online yet. And when they get online, this is mostly Asia and Africa, when they get online, the next probably 10 years, most of them are going to get a phone with internet access. They're going to be way behind in just starting healthy businesses and figuring out how they organize themselves within their towns and their nations, and how their dating culture is going to change, just like it did in the rest of the world. All these things are coming along, but we have an obligation, if we're lucky enough, like yourself and like myself, to have had access to this for a long time. If we want a stable world, a politically stable world, and a fair world, we need to make sure that the resources of the internet are open for everybody. We're not there at all, and it's going to be very difficult to get there. But I'm a little worried about the big divide when it comes to digital, so that we'll have 2 planets, almost. That's never good. We need to have some sort of balance between the haves and the have-nots, or otherwise it can be very politically unstable and dangerous.
What theoretically you think can these countries, how they can catch up when they have this internet?
I hope so. I hope that if you look at Northern Europe, if you look at the western part of Russia, if you look at England, if you look at France and Spain, all these nations have started their internet process by digging and putting cables underground to connect cities and every home. There's been broadband that way. Nobody's going to do that in Africa, in rural Africa. It's all going to be mobile. So the hope I have is that they are able to jump over a few technical development steps, and maybe even avoid some mistakes that we already made in North America and in Europe, right? So if that happens, then hopefully the technology can even out a little more, as long as we get easily accessible and affordable devices so that people can access the internet in a fairly equal way. Then, I mean, the levels of ideas and the entrepreneurship and the excitement over the next new thing, that's equal everywhere. That we all have that as humans in us.
Andreas, what you consider for that time your biggest achievement? What you're the most proud of?
Well, I have 3 kids who are, my girls are 17 and 15 this year, and my boy is 10. So far, they seem to be wonderful young individuals who are being kind citizens who are interested at the world around them and people around them. If that continues, I'm going to allow myself and my wife a pat on the back. After all, it feels like the most important thing that I do, to be a parent. I've been a stay-at-home father for a total of 2.5 years with them when they were infants. So it's been important for me. Professionally, I'm going to publish my 9th book this year, and publishing a book is always a wonderful, special feeling. It's conclusive. You're done with something, and you feel, these are my thoughts on this particular subject. I'm done, and I can move on. So maybe the books lie particularly close to my heart when it comes to professional achievements.
That is wonderful. You were saying that you were staying with your kids as.
I was a stay-at-home dad. Yeah, my wife was working and I was at home, and we have a very generous system for parental leave in Sweden. So you're able to split that time very well. So I spent 8 months with the oldest one, and then 9 months with the second one, and 10 months with the third one. Just being home caring for a really small children. No, it was a wonderful time, and I'm kind of anxious that they're going to move out way too soon.
I like that very much. And I think that is a great responsibility. And you're very brave to talk about that, because I respect it. I know that the role of father is very, very important. But in Russia, of course, it is still the responsibility of women. 99% of women are taken care of, only 1% of men. Are you not shy about that fact? How are you feeling about it?
No. We're lucky there in Sweden. That battle lies. We're not over with it, but we're way. The first paternity leave reform we had in the late 70s. My father was at home 1 day a week with my little sister in 1980. So I have a long tradition of seeing a more equal divide when it comes to these things. parenting it can be very different things for both mothers and fathers. It doesn't have to be the same in every family. But one thing about parenting that I will say, it's about showing up. Parenting is about being there. If you are never there, if you're home, before 7 o'clock once a week and the other nights you're gone, you're not parenting. You're letting the other parent do that for you, because children don't count quality time. They count, is dad there every day when I come home from school, or is he taking me to school every morning? That they just measure in hours. Where is dad right now? That's the only question that a child who's younger than a teenager will ask. So that means when I've been on the road as a keynote speaker, and I've been gone a lot for the past few years, especially during peak season for speaking and educating, September, October, November, I've been out of the house way, way, way too much. But on the other hand, from December 15th to January 15th, nobody wants to speak, or everybody has Christmas parties, so I'm home every day. So in my family, parenting has turned out to look different. It's not about us taking every second week or being there every day. I'm there all the time, or very little for a little while, and that's worked out for us. I would never lecture anybody else on how to do it. I can just say that for me, there are no downsides. It's just always been.
That is bravo, Andreas. I will say bravo. I respect very much what you are doing, and you are putting a very positive example to fathers and to the families and to mothers also, to listen to that. Just be there. Just show up. Don't give all the power to babysitters or to school, because then it's not you who parenting. It's
but that's also, if we want to come back to a business advice or working advice, decisions are made by those who show up. If you go there every day, if you want to write a novel, well, you better make it to the computer 9 o'clock every morning and get writing. If you want to be a good piano player, you have to make it there after dinner every day. That's your job. Get your butt on that stool, and then you can practice and make your luck. Showing up is the art of living.
Showing up is the art of living. That's the art of parenting. That's actually a great phrase. And as my last closing question to you, since we touched internet, since we touched Google, and we touched parenting, because I also have 3 kids, and for me, of course, it's a very burning question, and all this topic is very important. How you recommend to use internet for these people who are born with internet? Definitely for us, we studied that. And I remember 15 years ago, we were playing in the street without any internet, and we were very, very happy. This generation, they are born with internet. Should we put some limits? Should you say, okay, don't Google everything there, use the books, use your mind, use encyclopedia? Like, is something that you made your personal know-how?
My advice would be to be active. Have your children use their computers and their phones with you in the kitchen as you cook. Be a part of their digital life. You teach your children that you have to brush your teeth, and that you have to say please and thank you, and that you open the door for somebody behind you. You help raise children, and you have to raise them digitally too. This is what a digital scam looks like. This is what false information might look like. This is when you should and should not give out your credit card information. That's raising a citizen. And we have to do that in digital too, just as we raise our kids in every other aspect of life. Being a part of it, look over their shoulders, ask them, what is this TikTok thing? Because we're way too old to appreciate it, right? But we have to understand it, because that's where the kids are at. Have a look at it. Have a look at Snapchat. I mean, I can't even send a Snapchat message because it's not intuitive to me. It's made to not be intuitive to old people like myself. It's made for the kids to have their own playground.
Andreas, you're very young. Please don't tell me that you're old. You're very young.
How old I am.
Let's agree on this.
I'm 46 and a half years old, but I do feel younger now, though. Last year, a year and a half ago, my life was saved by a liver transplant. I had a liver condition for a long time. And since I actually got a spare part from a fellow human being who passed away and was able to donate his liver to me, I feel like a new man. So I feel now a little younger than I have for the past few years.
Did you know that person before it, or it's completely unknown?
No. When it comes to liver donation, it's almost always from somebody who has died. So this was just a man who was unlucky. I had no relation to him, and I was in line waiting to get a liver, and it was a perfect fit. So finally, I got the call from the hospital that there was a liver available for me, and I had to rush in and get the transplant and started rehab. And that was in September in 2020. So it's been almost a year and a half, and I feel great. So
it's your second birthday, we can say, yeah?
Yeah, well, October was last week in September 2020. Yeah, that was sort of that. It's a date I'll always remember. That's for sure.
That is wonderful. I wish you to live very long. I wish you to teach us
Thank
more
you.
about Google. I wish your dreams on digital equality, that all of us has the equal right to use internet, to start business, to start entrepreneurship, to be connected. Like now I'm in Almaty, Kazakhstan. You are in Sweden, which is completely different part of the world, but we can hear and see each other very good. And till now, I'm still surprised with that. I
Yeah,
still cannot
it's
get
hard getting
used to
used
that.
to, but it's a wonderful world. I mean, we have all the opportunities to make. Sometimes we think of the future as this threatening thing that just comes at us. Well, the future is what we decide for it to be. We can have a vote about that. Our behaviors will direct what sort of consumer products we get. And well, this is such a potentially long discussion. I just want to invite anybody who's watching this just to go to my website or shoot me an email, andreas@andreasekstrom.se. So easy. If you want to disagree with me, or I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be a comment section to this. I'll check it out, and we can talk about numerous things about the future that we're curious about.
Bravo. Thank you so much for being with us. I wish you good health to your 3 kids, to your